As of this morning, according to the Washington Post, 979 people have been shot and killed by the police in the United States over the course of just the last year. This is a graph from CNN depicting police shooting fatalities in the United States compared to a few select other developed nations. My name is Eli Alston, and for my persuasive speech, I will be discussing defunding the police. I will accomplish this through discussing the racist history of American policing, the unequal risk of violence it presents, and lastly, how funds currently being allocated towards policing can be redistributed. Let's start by discussing why the American law enforcement system should be a topic of discussion in the first place. Over the last few months in particular, United States incidents of police violence have garnered global and national attention and sparked outrage and protests on both a national and global scale. The origins of modern-day policing can be traced back to what's known as slave patrols. Slave patrols were founded in 1704 in the Carolinas. And according to Time magazine, the economics that drove the creation of police forces were centered not on the protection of shipping interests, but on the preservation of the slavery system. Slave patrols were established with three main objectives in mind. They were to chase down, apprehend, and return to their owners runaway slaves, to provide a form of organized terror to deter slave revolts, and lastly, to maintain a form of discipline for slave workers who were subject to summary justice outside the law. The manifestations of the racist foundation of American policing can be identified through modern-day policing behaviors. This brings me to my second point. Imagine that you find yourself in an emergency situation. Now imagine that the people you've been told your whole life were meant to protect you, you're afraid to contact them because you fear that when they arrive, they'll perceive you as the threat. This graph displays the United States Census population estimate as of 2019. Despite the fact that Black Americans make up 13.4% of the general US population, 27% of fatal police shootings are Black Americans. A 2017 study aimed at quantifying the likelihood of being killed by the police. Through investigations of research and data collected from Fatal Encounters, a journalist-led effort to quantify police violence, and the National Vital Statistics System, researchers ultimately found that Black men are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police than white men, and Black women are 1.4 times more likely to be killed by police than white women. This disparity that exists in terms of risk to being exposed to police violence has implications on both a democratic and public health scale. According to a representative from the University of Pennsylvania, we're just beginning to scratch the surface of how fatal police shootings are a collective trauma and how this affects individuals and their health. Now that I've taken the time to establish why this is an issue and how police violence disproportionately affects specific communities, I will now point to a potential solution to this issue. This graph depicts United States spending on police budgets and general fund expenditures for a list of select cities. U.S. law enforcement continues to receive an astronomical percentage of discretionary funds compared to other crucial community programming. A 2019 study by New York University researchers examined the relationship between local nonprofit openings and decreasing crime rates over a 20-year period. The findings ultimately said that in a population of 100,000 people, for each new nonprofit that opened its doors, the community could experience a 1.2% decrease in homicide rate, a 1% decrease in violent crime rate, and a 0.7% decrease in property crime rate. This study builds upon the idea that crime is not an inherent aspect of human existence. And potentially by providing communities with the social services necessary to maintain a happy and healthy lifestyle, we can decrease and eventually potentially eliminate the need for law enforcement services. Now that I've taken the time to talk about this multifaceted issue, racist history of American policing, unequal risk of violence, and the reallocation of funding are just three of the reasons that the American policing system should be defunded. By providing communities with adequate resources to maintain happy and healthy lifestyles, we can eliminate the need for policing and create an environment for Americans that all consider to be safe. Thank you.